Again, thanks for joining. Hope you're all here for our roundtable, our river management roundtable discussion. Today we're going to be talking about exploring the new National Wild and Scenic River System website, commonly referred to as rivers.gov. So excited, we've got Dan Haas here. I'll have him introduce himself in a minute. Just real quick, for those who might not be familiar, river management roundtables, we hold these once a month on the second Tuesday of the month. All people who work on and with rivers are welcome. Everyone from state and federal and local river managers, planners, watershed leads, directors, and we have nonprofit groups, outfitters, students, professors, all sorts of people. So it's a great place to come together, just have some discussion. Just a couple notes for today. We are recording this and we will upload this to the River Management Society YouTube channel afterwards. So if you want to go back and check it out, you can find it there. Also, when you're we're going to have some time for Q&A here at the end and throughout, so you're welcome to come off mute and ask questions. But while you're not speaking, we ask that you stay on mute just to reduce any feedback. If you have any questions in the meantime and you don't want to forget them, feel free to put them in the chat as well. I'll be helping monitor that. And then, we just ask that everyone has a nice conversation with each other and is respectful. All right. So now I'm going to pass it over to Dan Haas to introduce himself and kind of take it from there and start sharing his screen. He's going to take us on a little tour of the updated rivers.gov.
Yeah, hi. Founder is quite a upgrade from what I actually do, but I have run rivers.gov since its inception in 1995. We actually beat like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service by 2 years in having a website, something which irritates the hell out of the Fish and Wildlife Service every time I bring it up. Realistically, you guys could have gone through this website yourself and figured it all out. There's nothing magical here, but I will point out a few things, and contrary to what was just said, there's so few people here. Just go ahead and chime in whenever you want. If you see something that looks funky, if you have a question. When all is said and done, though, if you think about it in the next few days, if you have any comments, any ideas, any requests, please submit them. We have a bunch of open tickets yet. I see Karita with the Park Services on here, and she knows full well we have a lot of work left to do. Most of it's cleanup, but there are a few major items yet, and we'd be happy to throw in any other major items that you want. That so if it's helping the river community, that would be fantastic. So with that, I'll just share my screen, bounce through a few things, and Karita most definitely chime in because Karita was integral to getting this done. And I do want to say right off the bat that, yeah, I'm doing this, and yes, I was identified as the founder, but everybody pitched in on this. We couldn't have got this done without money from the Forest Service, who we were then able to pay for photos and pay RMS to help with the write-ups. The Park Service has just worked their butts off from a lot of people, a lot of offices in getting everything ready here. All right, so let me share my screen here a little bit. Come on. All right, looks like we're sharing now. A couple of things I want to say right up front. What makes this site better than the previous 6 versions? This is version 7, by the way. Is that we have we've made it graphically much more interesting. There are beautiful photos everywhere. We spent hundreds upon hundreds of hours tracking down photos, buying photos in some instances, especially for the Oahe Canyon lands. And every river has a photo that represents the river quite well, puts it in its best light, and every river has a write-up. Now, we have a couple new rivers where the ORVs are still being worked on, so we have like preliminary ORVs, but for the first time, every river has a full write-up on it, which is a vast improvement over the previous 6 versions. Homepage, nothing spectacular about it. We picked out the things that we thought were most important to scroll down here. The news, we'll kind of keep rotating through items. We have some design features there. What is different about this page versus the past is there are a lot of different ways to look up rivers and the values that the rivers have. For example, let's go zip over to the map. You can actually track down all the rivers that are classified as wild. And here's a complete listing. You can also access them via the map. You can look up rivers by ORVs, and we are missing 2 ORVs that the designer hasn't, for some reason, has overlooked, and we need to get them on here. But you can find all the rivers that have paleontology as an ORV. Same with classification, and then just the standard state stuff. Yeah, that's pretty well it on the map portion of it. Here is, a much more simple way if you're only interested in rivers in your state, and every state now has a write-up, as well as a photo. And if there are rivers in this, I should have probably picked like Oregon. Let's go grab Oregon. Come on, Oregon. Uh-oh. Best laid plans. Well, all right. Let's try Alaska. All right, Alaska's working. We'll have to figure out what's going on with Oregon there. So a little bit about the state. You can find each river this way. It also has a snapshot of every river in Alaska. So you can scroll through here, find your river, and go to, say, let's check out the 40 mile real quick. And you can see that there are complete ORVs. Now, some of them better write-ups than others. We have the River Management Society to thank in large part for, well, almost all of the BLM and Forest Service write-ups. Park Service did their own. Bless them on that. So while we're on a river page itself, just FYI, the image, if you click on image details, you get to see the entire photo, see who took it, photo credits, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. So we talk about there's a map, of course. We talk about the designated reach. We cover all the ORVs for that river. We have contacts for every river for the first time ever. And the new system, every time you upload a document, as long as you identify what river, it automatically gets added here to the documents. Has the classifications. We still have a little bit of work to do on there. It also shows the legislation. You can download the legislation that created that particular designation. Let's see. So let's go back to the home page. And I'm not going to walk you through all of this stuff. I'll just hit a few odds and ends here. Find a river, yet another way to track all this stuff down. Rivers table, yeah, that needs a little work yet. Study rivers. This is a page that we are working on, and we're going to have to do monthly updates too. So we're trying to figure out how to deal with that. But if we have the paper copy of a study somewhere, you can come here and get it, no matter how old. Some of these are ancient in here. And as we keep adding documents, we keep creating links. You know, and this applies to management plans, study rivers, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see, let's check out the national system. So we talk about the system. Oh, by the way, that last photo was a little Manatee River, which is currently under study. We managed to track down some neat old historic photos along the way here. Let's see, where are we at? National system, the legislation itself. There is a glitch here that we are working on in that it does not show. Actually, it's still loading, or it should be still loading. Oh. Boy, we're having glitches right and left here today. It should be showing the entire list of amendments. It might be one of the, they might be working on it.
Dan, are you in edit mode?
I am not.
No, okay.
Yeah, no, I am not. Oh, well, actually, I am in edit mode. How did that happen? It wasn't a minute ago. Regardless, it still should be showing up here.
Okay, I just noticed that, so I'm going to check.
Yeah, it did switch me all of a sudden into edit mode, but it doesn't matter. It still should be showing me the page. We talk about the management of the system. We talk about the history for the first time. I mean, a little bit more of the history, which we stole from Tim Palmer. But once again, managed to track down some kind of cool old photos. River resources. So project review. We are placing a heavier emphasis on providing help in doing project review for the river managers out there. We have a lot of work to do, and this page will probably get revamped quite a bit here. Right now, it's basically a copy of the old page, but we do want to create something that is a whole lot more user-friendly for the river managers rather than just for the public. Training, GIS, managing visitors, logo and sign standards. These are all standard pages that you can come and download the logo in various formats, etc. Questions and answers. We still have a lot to do, but we have. I wonder if I wonder if we're having issues because we're in share mode.
Yeah, Dan, you don't have the www. I wonder, because it looks fine when I go to the site myself. So if you add the HTTP or www.
It's the www is there. It's just, I wonder if it's because I'm in share mode. Let me stop sharing and try a different browser real quick, because this is not good. Let's see.
Page looks fine on the public end. And
yeah, it might just be an internal problem. So now let's get back over to Zoom and share. Oops. I don't know if it'll let me do this or not. Share screen. It does not look like it's going to let me do that. So bear with me, we'll try one last issue here. Yeah, for some reason it dumped me into edit mode, and for whatever reason, edit mode isn't letting me see everything. There we go. Switched over to Opera. So the Q&A, eventually we want to get rid of this long list of things and make it more of the same type of search engine it was before, where where you can go in here, put in your own keyword. One thing we did when we brought these over, we spent, oh, I don't know how many days creating keywords for every Q&A. So you can, it's a much more robust search. So if you want to check out things related to roads, click on, you select roads, and we have all of these tagged with roads. So it is a much more robust search engine. So you can find Q&As that the Park Service and the BLM are primarily responsible for creating. Yeah, these are basically standard pages. The search page still needs a little work. I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom. We have your standard stuff, contact us, national awards. The numbers is and kind of an interesting page in that this is where we have all of the data related to that you can come and download spreadsheets with the rivers, the mileage, the old mileage PDF, etc. So we've spent a fair amount of time making things a little more visually graphic. The NRI, and there's a huge effort underway right now to revamp how the NRI is looked at and what composes the NRI, but right now it's just linking over to that, and eventually, hopefully, it will link over to the new page site that the Park Service is developing. The documents page is kind of a new thing, or it is new. And so you can come here, and every document that we have uploaded, you can search by type of document. If we have identified an agency, you can search by the agency. You can search by the state, and that'll give you a link to every document we have related to Alaska in this instance. So it's a much more robust search engine, and like I say, we've added a lot more publications for this. And if you have publications out there, old management plans, study reports, etc., that we don't have on our site, we'd love it if you'd send it to us. Karita, I don't want to bore people any more than I already have. So Karita, anything more to add?
I'd love to just highlight something. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the overview, and yeah. I want to commend Dan. Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me stop sharing and you can share if you want.
This is Dan's test to see if I can share. I will. The one thing that I was thinking, first, I just want to say thanks to Dan for the amazing amount of work he did with imagery. I know many of us have used Rivers.gov for the pictures and the images, and the diverse set of people and animals and rivers that are out there. It really shows the diversity of our rivers. And he worked, as he said, with all of these photographers and folks who really care about the rivers locally to get nice images there. So it's just such an upgrade for understanding the system as a whole. So I just wanted to point that out. And then the one thing I was interested in showing that got me excited about what we've been able to do on rivers.gov, Dan pointed out the new state pages and the GIS information that's included there, but also pointed out how we have these individual river pages. And I too may have to go to Oregon.
I don't know why Oregon was giving us problems.
There we go. It's working. A couple of our rivers. Let's see if we just shoot this one. Of course, now we'll find them. There are these really nice connections to the river systems. So one thing I think with Wild and Scenic, with rivers.gov previously, sometimes it was hard to understand how the rivers fit within the system as a whole. And both with this state page that shows all of the rivers within a state, and also with some of the information that's provided on individual river pages. you're able to get kind of a better picture of how these rivers fit together. And then I was looking for a river that showed some of the videos as well.
Try Rogue.
Oh, the road. Okay.
The-
Oh, there's one. So I think this is a nice feature. Dan was able to bring in video content. So when videos about the river itself have been created, we can add those onto the pages. So just thinking about how people digest information nowadays, that the having all the management plans is really important and vital. Having the public laws and legislation, you know, this is our go-to site, but there's also some storytelling and the ability to do that on this page. So I really like that aspect of it. And because it's near and dear to my heart, and you all are engaged with the River Training Center through this River Management Roundtable, I just want to point out on our training site, we will work to include training that's available to anyone to learn about wild and scenic rivers and understand all the competencies, core competencies that we have for wild and scenic. So trying to get resources at people's fingertips so that you can find out about individual rivers, find out about the council, and find out resources to help actually manage our rivers well. I'll stop sharing.
Bet legislation probably worked on yours. Oregon now loaded on mine now that I'm out of it, but just out of curiosity, did legislation? Yes, legislation works perfectly once I'm not in edit mode. But we, like I say, we have a lot of bugs yet to go. Like the legislation, for whatever strange reason, is only showing legislation where there was a designation. It's not showing where there was a technical amendment. And I don't even think it's showing where it was just a study. Matter of fact, I know it isn't. So there, yeah, we have probably 25 tickets in. Some are minor, like you probably noticed that the images look dark until you click on image details. And that is for 508 compliance. But my point was, well, why don't you just move the title below the image, and therefore then we don't need to darken the image and we can show it at the way the photographer intended it to be. So that's one of the tickets we have, and there's a whole bunch of so on and so forth. Yeah, like I say, the big ticket items though is we want to get the Q&A cleaned up. We need to get the last couple of ORVs to show up on the list. I can't even think what some of the other big ticket items were. But at any rate, I will shut up and just let people ask a few questions because this really didn't need to be an hour long. Or maybe I'm underselling the site. I don't know. But to me, a lot of it is just standard web stuff that you guys deal with every day of the week. So you don't need me poking around.
Well, someone who uses it frequently, we appreciate it. Yeah, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, hi Dan. I'm glad to meet you on Zoom here. I've been involved in wild and scenic rivers for over 20 years, and I've nicknamed myself Watershed Fred. And Karita was mentioning how rivers fit together, and one of the issues I discovered early on with the NRI is they weren't listed by watershed. They were listed like alphabetically by state, and it was difficult in some cases if there are multiple NRI segments within a watershed, that kind of could open the door to a system-wide study and designation, a watershed-wide. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you and make that watershed comment, because I don't know how to weave that into things, but I think it could be helpful.
Yeah. And Karita, she maybe gave us a little too much credit so far on that. We need to go back through this website's going to take a long time to build out to 100%, because there are a lot of rivers here that we have not made the connection for yet, you know, where it's related to another wild and scenic river in the system. You know, certainly along the Columbia River Basin, we have not done that, or the Snake River Basin. So there's going to be a lot of plotting through here and upgrading each individual river, which actually brings me to a point I wanted to bring up. And Fred hasn't been shy about chiming in the past. The whole idea behind this website was to get it into what's known as a content management system. So, you know, these aren't static pages, and to let each agency manage its own rivers eventually, because versions 1 through 6, if there was a change to be made or anything, it was me. And yes, I have about 2,000 hours into this current site, but I'm thinking I put in about another 100. And after that, it's Carita, it's you know, Steve Chesterton with the Forest Service, it's, you know, somebody with a BLM, each managing their own river. And right now we can let all of DOI, or not, you know, obviously we pick and choose, but we can let any person within DOI into the site to manage their own river. And we're hopefully a couple months away from the Forest Service being able to get into in here, because they're different departments. So far it's been a little bit of a glitch, but that was a long way of getting to the point that I wanted to make, that if you have an interest in this river, in a river here or a state, hey, we would love you to do a full write-up, or if you think you have a better photo, great. You know, we want this to be community based as well. So anybody that can do a better write-up than what we have here, love it. Send it to us.
I did see a question come in earlier in the chat, and I believe it was when we were looking at the page, the numbers. And Ron asked, is there a link to ADA accessible viewing locations and linear accessible sections? And Ron, feel free to expand.
Yes, Ron Chick, Suasco in Massachusetts. Dan, we spoke several months back about this topic of being able to find a tab for accessibility. And so that's basically my question, is in this evolution of the website, and thank you for the thousands of hours you put into it, that I think it would be appropriate to begin a process to have a tab for accessible viewing areas and linear lengths of trail. Here in Massachusetts, I'm working on the Sudbury part of the Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord rivers. And I was able to acquire a grant from Community Preservation for $250,000 to create ADA accessible observation areas next to handicap parking, right there viewing the wild and scenic, and to create 1,500 feet of accessible pathway and another viewing area. So my advocacy for this event here is to ask that there's a tab as things evolve, that people will be able to see that there are accessible wild and scenic locations.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not actually saying something on the site being accessible. You're talking about if they can actually find rivers that have ADA access points.
Yeah. If you Google ADA accessible wild and scenic rivers, what do you get? And so that's where I'm going with it, is to have a way for people that may be traveling across the country that are mobility impaired. They may want to be able to have the opportunity to see these amazing resources that we're able to walk to quite easily, at least around here.
Sure. And a lot of waterfalls, you know, I mean, if they're somewhat near Main Road, have ADA, you know, and especially I know a lot of the waterfalls in say the UP of Michigan have ADA accessibility. I love that. Yeah, there's no compelling reason why we couldn't add a tab to, that if there's a feature, it pops into the page and says, hey, you can access, Whitefish Falls.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, and it would be up to all of the councils to give the input, to provide the input. You just asked the question.
Yep. Oh yeah, it would be an ongoing process. I mean, at first it'd be a few, but as you find them and identify them and keep adding, like I say, it's years away from this page being 100% built out. Love it. I don't know, when you and I spoke before, I'm not sure I actually understood that point, but I do now.
Thank you. Yes, I'm loving being on the River Stewardship Council here. I'm a community representative, and I've been on it for about 7 years, and it's pretty rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's why I did this advocacy and got the grant, and I'm working on others.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure. Yeah, no, I love it. There are quite a few rivers out there that have at least somewhere along their length an ADA accessible resource or facility, on an overlook, fishing pier, whatever. And yeah, that would be a wonderful feature for the public.
Good. Thank you.
Anything else anybody's got? I mean, to me, it's a basic website. I mean, it's just a huge website is all. There's nothing unique or special about it other than just the sheer volume that's here.
Yes, a lot of resources. As someone who spends a lot of time on rivers.gov, I'm really enjoying the revamp. And as Dan mentioned, if we find anything that needs updating, let him know, because this is a work in progress. I did see Darren asked in the chat if the website is Section 508 compliant.
Yes and no. So the website itself should be. There is a ticket in that for it to be run through by a third-party company. It's not a cheap process, but it will be run through by a third to identify what things aren't currently 508 compliant. I think I already mentioned the photos, of course. They're dark because of the need for 508 compliance, and that's why we're moving the titles below. So yeah, now when I say no, it's because some of the documents are not. Now the Park Service once again coughed up some serious amount of time and resources to make a good chunk of the say the management plans from the 1970s 508 compliant. We had a little bit of a mix up and some of the old ones got uploaded. So part of the process is to make sure we get the 508 versions up there. But even then, some of them are scans of documents that are 40 years old, and it's a bit tough to make those 508 compliant. So there will be some resources that won't be machine readable. It's just the nature of dealing with things that are, what is this year 2000, what are we at? Well, I don't know, we're at 55 years now on the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, or pretty close to it. So yeah, some of the documents are, nobody even ever dreamed of things like that back then, nor could they actually accomplish it back then.
I got a question in regard to the rivers. Are they strictly broken down by the main river that they're associated with? Even though there might be some tributaries to certain rivers, i.e. The St. Croix National Scenic Riverway. It also includes the Nabokogin. So is there a reason why it's strictly listed by the St. Croix or not both? I'm just curious of the hierarchy or idea behind that.
It's listed by the legislation.
Okay.
Or the secretarial designation in the case of the St. Croix. If we went so far as to have a list, and you're doing the Tim Palmer approach to things where, hey, if we list every tributary, we can say we have 500 rivers in the national system. It's an interesting thought, but yeah, if you look at some of the like say White Clay Creek or the Virgin River in Utah, you would have, I think the Virgin River has something like 26 tributaries included. So at any rate, it's all just based on the legislation, where it said, this is the Virgin River designation. Good question, though. That might be a project for the future of getting at least all the tributaries named so that you could search by them. That's not a bad thought, especially, some of the bigger tributaries that people live on that, they might be very interested in. Hey, is my river designated? I like that one too.
No, I know the Navicoggan very well, and that's why I asked it, because my family owned land on that river till the River Act and all that stuff. And, I get it's part of the St. Croix, but it is a very large river for a very long span, as where I get the smaller tributaries. But I like your point about slowly adding them over time. I mean, that makes sense. And I get the designation breakdown, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't really, I would take, a week's worth of typing, but the Park Service has interns all the time, but we would just have to get the field added, and then yeah, I like that. That's something we hadn't thought of, but yeah, all the little itty bitty tributaries to the Rogue are like, well, nobody lives there, but the bigger ones where people are interested in, well, like yourself, who live there, and it's like, hey, I want to check to see if my river's designated. Love it. All right, Karita, there you go. There's a intern project.
We could make it a Darren project.
I have 17 of the 18 partnership rivers to worry about.
Yeah, but no, that like I say, that wouldn't, we actually have that information on each individual river page already, in the admin. It would just be a simple matter of adding a new field and hitting, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. You could even, like I say, you could do it within the same page. So it wouldn't really be that horrible of an undertaking, other than clicking through 229 individual rivers, but you could do it in less than a week pretty easily. All right, that's another good idea there. What else we got? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm a visual information specialist, so I know a little bit of everything when it comes to like the graphics and pictures and video and all that stuff. So that's why I do have some questions, just curiosity, like the thought process and the ultimate use of rivers.gov. But when it comes to like photos, you were speaking about, like, if you find better photos of a river or something of that nature, is there a way that we can build somewhat of a photo library with attributions to the photographers that are open for the general public use?
We certainly could. If you can come up with photos, we have a Flickr account, and that's one thing that isn't, for some reason they didn't put our Flickr link on here. That's one of the open tickets that we have, and we currently have, I don't know, like 1,200 photos up there, because the Forest Service bought Tim Palmer's library, and then Bob Wick has given us 1 million, and etc. But no, we can do it. We can just do it via the Flickr account. It would seem to be the simplest way to do it, rather than
what is that Flickr account, though, just so I know, because you're the first person that spoke of it that I've heard of.
I think it's just flickr.com/rivers. That's a good question.
I'm putting the link in the chat here. I think it's like wild_rivers.
Wild_rivers. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. I just know from a past project we had issue finding photos, and on NPS's side, there's only so many photos to use because it has to do with who controls them. So I was curious if there's an alternative route where there's photos we can use at NPS or across any of the agencies to use for, whatever we need internally to use for the public facing stuff.
Yeah, all the photos on our Flickr account are available to nonprofits and government organizations. Some of them are actually technically Creative Commons because like Bob Wick was being paid by the BLM. Although usually I put attribution required at least to. But yeah, all of those photos, and we are constantly searching for more, and I probably have another 50 that I need to upload. Unfortunately, we're Oregon heavy. But yeah, every one of those is available to nonprofits and government agencies.
What would be a way for the individual rivers to help give more to the photo, so there's more than just Oregon represented, if you will? Is there, other than, is it just going through their local NPS employee that has access, or whatever it might be for the local river? Is that truly the best way?
Yeah, I can't think of a better way. I mean, it basically boils down to hey, can we put your photo up for Flickr to be available for others to use? Now, we didn't, we were supposed to try and add that caveat to photos as we did the search here, because like I said, I've got hundreds of hours into search for the website. But at a certain point, it was like, okay, I'm begging people for photos. I'm just gonna, okay, hey, well, we're gonna use your photo here, because I was afraid if I added the other part about using it, letting it out to the general public, then we'd get a whole lot more no's. And trust me, it was not fun finding a high quality photo for every river. And as a matter of fact, we still have maybe 8 rivers where we're using a proxy. For example, a couple of rivers in the Oahe Canyon lands. One of the ORVs would be rainbow trout, and I've got a great photo of a rainbow trout up there, but it wasn't actually taken on that river. So there's still a few rivers we don't have photos for, and I don't think anyone has ever visited Joseph Creek in Oregon. Every photo you find of it is taken from 3,000 feet up of the valley itself, and you don't actually see the water. But as far as I can tell, no one has ever actually gone down to. I'm not sure there's a creek down there. So, and that one's been designated for since 1988, and there does not seem to be a water photo of that creek anywhere.
And I just want to share real quick, because I come on this website to find photos or the Flickr site. And if you're on there, you're just like on the photo stream, come over here to this magnifying glass. It took me a while to see this, but you can actually then search. It'll I don't know, you could put in the Rio Chama. So I'm typing in Chama, 13 results. Don't be fooled by the ad at the top, and then come down and anything that's tagged with that. So it's just a nice way to be able to kind of search quickly. Otherwise, you're scrolling through 1,300 photos. And so I've found that useful. Sometimes it's not 100%, but can give you a good start if you're looking for a certain river's photo, or if you're like, hey, there's actually no rivers with the photo there.
Well, and that's literally how we found a lot of photos was, you'd go to Flickr and you might find a photographer that had taken one, but wasn't quite perfect. But then if you do that search just within his account, just like that, it's like, oh, there's a Yellow Dog River photo. And then you'd contact hey, Tom, I am so-and-so, and can we use your photo, please, please, please?
Quick question for the Flickr side of things. Who would I contact to give them photos to upload, as long as I go through and do the metadata for them?
That's me again.
Okay. So you're the main person, no one else has access?
I've given a couple Forest Service people the login It's
Okay.
but yeah, because Flickr isn't really, there's, if you ever research Flickr, there's no way to share an account. And matter of fact, Flickr catches you sharing an account, you logins and whatnot, they will banish you to Flickr hell. But yeah, there is no common interface with Flickr, which it's like, oh, that would seem like it would be a good thing, but no. So right at this point, it has to go through me.
All right, good to know. Thanks for that, Dan.
So is there anything else in there, Angie, or
I
if
saw
not,
Tim Palmer pop up, but thanks for all
Tim
the
here.
photos there.
no. So I do want to also, you know, and I know I've thanked RMS a couple of times here, but I also, James is on the call here, and I really want to point out James's contribution here to folks. And yes, we paid him, but I think he went way over what the money we sent over to RMS for writing up these individual river descriptions. He searched high and low for individual river plans, downloaded them, wrote the descriptions, because we did not get a whole lot of help from individual forests, BLM districts, etc. You know, the Park Service was fantastic in covering their own rivers, but without James, we would not be in the wonderful shape that we're in, because he went above and beyond in tracking down ancient, well-hidden management plans and culling out river descriptions for us.
It was actually a lot of fun, Dan, getting to dig into some of those old CRMPs and seeing how the language has changed over the years and how they used to code these ORVs and not really know what ORVs were until much later when they would like spell them out explicitly. It was a really cool to see like the transformation of the system over time.
Yeah, well, you and I have a very different definition of fun. So, but well, if there's nothing else, I don't, I'm sure other people have more interesting things to do than hearing us ramble on here.
Yeah, if there's any last questions or comments, you can speak up now.
Way to go, Dan. Thank you so much.
Oh, is Tim on here?
Yeah. I'm sorry I was late, but I made it. I'm looking forward to checking out the new site and just really appreciate everything you've done over many years, Dan. I mean, it's an extraordinary effort.
Yeah, well, we couldn't have done it without your photos too. I mean,
there's
Oh,
you could.
Photos there of yours and Bob Wicks. The site wouldn't be anywhere near what it was.
Yeah, but we of course needed you to pull it together. It just couldn't have happened. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, well, they paid me for it. It was good that our current management, Fish and Wildlife, didn't really care about visitor service, so I had free time on my hands, so I could cough up a couple thousand hours to do this.
Well, let's think of something else for you to do then.
You missed the part where we still got a lot of tweaks to make to this site yet. So there's a lot of work here yet. So, well, I'm gonna turn it back over to Angie and she can close us out.
Yeah, just again, huge thanks to Dan and everyone who helped on this update and who is still continuing to help on this update. I think it's really important and it looks awesome so far, and excited to see how the continuous changes and updates come along. Just want to remind everyone, we recorded today's session. You can find it on our YouTube channel, get it uploaded here soon, later this afternoon, and probably send out an email tomorrow with a link to it. Again, thanks again to Dan. And then just couple upcoming events. We've got a river career discussion series. Our last one in the series is looking at some private sector opportunities for work around rivers. That's gonna be on November 29th. And then our next roundtable, river management roundtable, is going to be on December 12th. And we're looking at the world of water trail programs. And so looking at different state water trail programs, and encourage you to come. It's going to be an interesting discussion. And then here, when you end your Zoom session, you're going to be directed towards a survey. I can also put a link here in the chat, and just encourage you to let us know what you thought of today's session. We really enjoyed the feedback, and we use it to just make sure that we are providing good programs here. And so if you have any ideas on future roundtables, you can share that as well in the survey. And then just thanks again for joining, and have a great rest of your Tuesday, everyone.
Thank you.